Hello, everyone. Dr. Andrea here. We are here for our first annual Create Your Own Door conference. And as part of the conference, I wanted to bring up some of our key speakers, the individuals that are going to be speaking to us during the conference, and also those individuals that will be here at our in-person luncheon. And one of those people is Charise Richardson McGriff. But before we do that, if you didn't know, we are having before the end of the year a conference called Create Your Own Door. And I'm going to go ahead and read what it actually, the purpose of it is designed to equip men and women to get out, to step out in God and to create platforms that glorify Him without reservation, to lead well and make a lasting impact. And really, where this idea came from, and you've probably heard this already, depending when you listen to this, if it's before the conference or afterwards. It came from a prophetic word that I got from the Lord from last year, how individuals need not to be afraid to create platforms for Him, right? Platforms in their mountains of influence, platforms in their metrons that glorify Him and the world. So, and in doing that, sometimes you're not going to have an individual that's going to facilitate you having a platform, and that you should be able to create your own and create your own doors with God and build those platforms, not by yourself, but just with Him in excellence and power. So this is definitely a movement. We plan on having this conference every single year, Lord willing. But part of it is doing these interviews with our speakers. So you'll see this on the podcast and also in video form. So today, as I said before, we have Charise Richardson McGriff, and she is a longtime founding member, I believe, of the KBL and Kingdom Business Leadership Network. And I'm going to give you a little bit of her bio. Depending on, like I said before, when you hear this, you might already know this information, but she is an author of the book Fearless Warrior. She is a coach, an influencer, domestic violence overcomer. She has over 20 years of experience in and around business, infrastructure, operations, education, all these things. Her business is CYOD Apparel and More, which is a boutique, and it goes right into what she coaches on, which is confidence. So they run hand in hand. And she also has a mentorship program, membership and mentorship program called Confidence God's Way. I love Charise and so glad she is here. There's a little bit more here about her conference that she has. I'm becoming fearless, which is also of movement. There's just a lot to be said, but I'm going to let her say the rest of it so we can go on. So welcome. Let me pull her up. Welcome, Charise.
Hi.
Charise.
Hey, you guys. I am so excited about this conference, Create Your Own Door. This is awesome.
Yes, and as Charise knows, having conferences and things like that are not the easiest thing in the world.
No, it's not.
It takes a lot of time, a lot of planning, a lot of everything.
Yes.
And I know for me, I had a strong unction because the Lord knows I was not trying to do no conference at the end of the year. But here we are doing it. But sometimes you just have to get started. And we have to know to not despise small beginnings. And really, the hardest part is just starting. So I know we're going to be talking a lot about that during this conference in these next few days. And we brought together some seasoned business individuals that are able to speak to what it's like just getting started and then carrying through in that momentum. But before we get into all of that, because we're going to be talking about it so that we can help you guys and help ourselves get going. Charise, can you tell us a little bit about, like I said, your bio is extensive, about what you do with the boutique, with your coaching, with your conference, just all the different things with your books. And just kind of educate the audience.
Of course. So just so you guys know, my name is Charise Richardson McGriff, and I'm the author of The Fearless Warrior, The Fierce Battle with the Interview. And we do have a book and a workbook. And the workbook is designed to help you walk through the series of 6 chapters, but it's dedicated to help you walk through the chapters so you can gain your confidence back and be fulfilled in the abundance and the things that God has for you. Sometimes along the way with traumas and different situations, situations, we lose confidence. And because of that, this book is dedicated to that, to help anyone who has been through something like that to be able to bounce back from being out of confidence and just overcoming fear and just loving themselves. So also CAJD Apparel Mart LLC is a boutique that is the same thing. We're building confidence in people. We have items for men and women, and it's designed to, as we stated, build confidence, self-assurance, help you develop who you are in God and also who you are in yourself. Because I think it's important to know just who you are and what you stand for. So that is something that is very dear to my heart, is that people getting to know their true identity and not dealing with imposter syndrome and, you know, overcoming the fear that has them bound for. And sometimes people are going through these things and have generation curses for years. And so if we can break through those bondages by making people feel good about themselves, that's what we want to do. So we also have Confidence God's Way, which is a membership program. So it's dedicated the same way to build confidence. But in this membership, you get videos, live sessions, QA sessions, and it's a subscription that we do, and it's $17 a month, which is awesome for you to be able to get all of the things that you'll get to be a part of that community. So I think that it is awesome.
No, that really is, because people don't necessarily realize where they're at in there, or I should say it like this: people don't realize the things that are stopping them from moving to their next level, or walking through open doors, not just creating their own door, but open doors. It has a lot to do with their self-worth, their self-confidence, how they feel about that, because a lot of times people won't even start because they don't think that they can do it. They don't think that they should be doing it. They're settled in other people's expectations of themselves and not necessarily the expectation of God.
Very true.
So, and some people need some help. Some people need accountability to be able to walk that path. Some people can do it by themselves and be okay, but the majority of people need community to be able to move to that next level. So you guys already know all our information is here on the screen. You can check her out, check her community out. She talks about this in her session during the conference. If you're watching this at the time of this recording, if not, you'll have to find it on the website. But at any rate, make sure you check those things out, because sometimes we don't realize what we actually need to move to the next level, and we just keep cycling, like you were talking about with the generational curses. Those are cycles, and you keep cycling and you don't know why. So, and I know she does awesome work with all of the individuals, her coachees, I guess that's what you call them. Those individuals, and has some great outstanding outcomes and testimonies and things. So talking about, you know, everything you're doing, which is awesome. How exactly, how did you get started? Because there are some people out there that, you know that God has something for them to do. It might be a ministry, it might be a business, or it might be a little bit of both. What can they do? Like what did you do, you know, to get started?
The first thing I would say anybody to get started, the first thing is get out of your own head. Get out of your own head and stop overthinking. Sometimes it is a process of us just overthinking it over and over in our heads, like over and over again, like, you know, and you never act because you're so busy thinking, right? So I believe, like, for me, with me getting started was just to stop overthinking and to believe that I could be successful in what God was calling me to do, and not just being a person just to sit there and just keep writing plans. Because I think there's nothing wrong with writing out the plan. I think it's more of an execution of the plan. There's nothing wrong with you writing in a journal daily and writing the goals down and doing all those things. That's great. But at the same time, you need to get to a place where you are executing what you're writing down.
That's good. That's true. I think a lot of us do fall into that. I wouldn't even call it over planning, because some people just they use it as a crutch. They use that the same way people use I'm waiting on God, when a lot of times God is waiting on you to just move and do something. it's easier for you to be moving and do something and let the Lord stop you than you just be sitting back, and waiting and things. So even with that, just kind of the what do you call that? The non-tangible items with it. Tangibly, what are some of the things that you had to do to get started? Like, did you have like a loan? Did you have money? Like, or did you have how were you able to do the boutique without how did you do that?
So I actually saved money first, but then I also took an income tax check, and instead of buying things that I did not need, I invested in my business. I bought a whole bunch of product and I started selling it. And when I first started my boutique, it wasn't, I really, to be honest, at first, I did not have a purpose. I wasn't really passionate about it because I didn't know. I just was like, I need some extra money, so that's how I originally started. But then after a while, it was like, I kind of got, because anything I will tell anybody, anything that you're not passionate about will come to an end at some point. So it started getting to a place where I got tired of doing it because there was no passion behind it. So I actually stopped doing it, stopped selling, and just kind of, gave away some products to some people, sold some products to some people just to get rid of it. And then I got
how far in were you? Was that how many years in?
I want to say I was into I was maybe 3 years in by then.
Okay.
It's 3 years in. And I was just like, I'm just tired. I don't even want to do this. This is not really what I want to do. And the reason why it was like that is because, like I said, I had no passion. I had no reason. One thing about business, if you're going to do it at any point, you have to have a reason, a passion. You have to have a purpose behind it. And if you don't have any of those things, it is going to fall.
Yeah, because it's not, the honeymoon stage wears out very quickly, and it's
very quick.
No longer fun, but there's a lot of work tied to this fun.
It's a lot of work, and a lot of people don't realize that being an entrepreneur is a lot of work. Sometimes you're working longer than you're working on a job. You go to a job, you may give a job 8 hours, but you may give your business 16 hours a day because you have to send out emails until you get someone to do that for you. You have to send, what your sale going to be for the month, what your sale going to be for the week, what you're going to post on social media. There's so many different jobs to an entrepreneur. So you have to be passionate, because if you don't have a passion, you're going to die.
Yeah. And then people think, and I've always not said this, but people think anybody can do it. Like everybody's called to entrepreneurship or running a business or even a ministry. And I'm like, no, you definitely have to have a muscle, because there's a lot of delayed gratification. There's a lot of, just having tough skin, and people don't like to talk, especially in Christian circles, about grinding, but there is a certain level of grinding. There's grace to do it. Especially when you're starting out. Even if you have like a lot of money and money even to pay people, there's always this element of, building the foundation. So if you don't have forms yet, if you don't have a system or a process of customer service or payments and stuff, you have to build all that.
Yes, you
have
do.
to create all of that, because I don't know anybody, unless you have a business that you've already bought. All that's there, which is reality, but then there's other issues that you have to deal with. And I guess people don't really realize. And the thing is, if God is calling you to that, He's going to supply everything that you need. And if it's not in you, He'll supply people that will be able to help you get to that place. And I know we're going to talk about this at some point during the conference. Your weaknesses, recognizing what they are, and don't stay in them. But getting people or systems or technology or something, to help. So with the things you saw yourself, because I'm assuming after 3 years, even within the first year, you saw some things that you were weak in. What did you do to help?
I started hiring people. That's the one thing I started doing. I started hiring people to do certain things, because, just being a person who's I'm in full-time school as well. So it's
Mm-hmm.
certain things that I just don't have the time to do. I have to still have 3 children I have to take care of, so it's like certain things I just don't have time to do. So what I would suggest with anyone is if you're starting out, always have you some money set to the side to pay people for different tasks, because you don't think about that, but that's just like paying for products.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a product-based business, you're going to have to pay for products. Or even if you do drop shipping, you're still going to have to do something. A lot of people don't realize, like, what happens if your drop shipping is late? What are you going to do? You got to find some product somewhere. You got to do something. You got to figure out how you're going to fulfill the order. So you need to have a customer service person, or you need to have somebody sending out emails or sending out gift cards. You got to have somebody doing something. So there's always going to be something that you can hire somebody for. And you just have to figure out what that is.
Right. And if you're at the place where hiring is not an option, well, generally you can always, with things like Fiverr and things like that, you can always hire somebody. It's not going to be as expensive. It might not be what you look like, like somebody's sitting at your house doing work for you, but they could be sitting in Indonesia doing some things for you.
Yes.
And then also, depending on how big your network is, you can get people to assist you, volunteers. And I mean, I think product-based businesses like what you do, Charise, are some of the hardest businesses
they are very hard
to have, just because you're dealing with inventory, you're dealing with stock, you're dealing with shipping. I mean, it's just so multifaceted, so I really give it up for you guys. And not to mention the individuals. I know you were doing some of this. I think you've stopped it at this point, but making your own products.
Oh, and I still do. It just depends on how big the order is. I still make some products, but I'm trying to, and the reason why I'm trying to get away from that is out of obedience. Because if, and this is something that God placed on my heart, and it was like, if I want you to travel and I need you to speak in Africa, or I need you to speak in another state, how are you going to fill these orders if you're not personally there to do it? So either you're going to hire a team and they're going to work in a warehouse for you, or you're going to drop ship. Which one you going to do? It sounds like, okay.
And sometimes hiring the team is just, not feasible.
Yeah.
And then you gotta think that through. But that's also, having a plan, maybe for the first year or two or whatever it is, that's what you do. You're doing everything. But then once you hit a certain point, you have some other type of distribution. I mean, that's really what it is, distribution type plan, because you doing everything yourself. And that's, for Charise or anybody else, it's just not scalable. Because you're only one person and there's only so many hours.
You have to ask yourself, how much money do you really want to make?
Right.
How much money, and then not only that, how many people do you want to share your gift with?
Right.
If you want to continue to share your gift with a small amount of people, then you have to, you can make whatever you want. But if you get to a place where you want to share this gift worldwide, you're going to have to find a way, and sometimes it's just a mindset shift. And for me, for a long time, that's what it was, because I was like, I like to make my own stuff. And then I got busier, and it just kept getting busier. And it's like, hold on, wait a minute, I like to make this stuff. But now it's getting to a place where I want to make sure I get, I make my customers happy. So you have to, you just have to make sure you understand business. There's no one at Bath and Body Works sitting there at the store making the stuff in the back. Sorry, it just ain't. It's nobody at Walmart in the back heat pressing shirts. They're just not doing that. Right?
Exactly right.
So if we want to be in these, different industries, and we really want to succeed and be that, we're going to have to, our mindset is going to have to shift.
Yeah. And we have to, like we said, think about scaling. I just came from a conference, and there they were talking about a bunch of things, but one of the things they did say was, and this was a word from the Lord, you're playing too small. Right. You're like, really? I thought I was, but sometimes we're thinking too small, and we're counting ourselves out too fast, and we're playing too small. Like, okay, yes, now it's just you and you're selling a few items or whatever, whatever you're doing, or maybe you're having events if you're in a ministry and a few people are coming. But the Bible, like we said at the beginning, despise not small beginnings. It will grow just by nature of you being consistent. and doing
Mm-hmm.
what God, says to do. God starts everything out with as a seed, because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you're not ready for all the bigness and the muchness and all
Mm-hmm.
these things,
You
because
got
you
to
don't
get
have
you
your
ready.
systems in place.
Mm-hmm.
You're not even ready. And with the age of social media, some
Mm-hmm.
people go viral and then their system breaks for whatever they went viral for, because they weren't ready.
You weren't ready,
So
So
go ahead,
yep,
go ahead.
just having no. Well, I was going to say having those systems in place. Like we're talking about, just having everything, prepared for that, just in case. Like right now, I have more than one website. I have a website for the coaching, website for the boutique, two different platforms, so they're two different businesses. And sometimes I believe people put it all together, and it's like, I don't believe that you should do that.
Right.
Because when you do that, if something, how are you keeping up with all of this stuff? If you have them on two separate systems, then they're two separate things. So if I get an email for confidence coaching, I know that's what that's for.
Yeah.
If I get an email for CAJD, then I know that's what that's for. I think that sometimes we don't process them right, and we're trying to do too much at one time, and we just need to take our time, like you said, baby steps. It may be a small beginning right now, but those things will grow in time.
Yeah, and even I know I've talked to you guys in the business mentorship about beta testing and beta launching. Like, your first thing, don't make it like the biggest thing in the world. Just kind of step out small and get your systems in order, get the good foundation, and then the next one expand, and the next one expand. I know that's been the situation with your your conference. The first one was excellent, and then we just had the next one, and you build on top of that, and then the next one that's gonna come after that, you're gonna build on top of that. And it's not something that is like a microwave. It's not super fast. It's literally it's like a processing, just building what God's given you, building your business, building your ministry. We should never want or even expect for stuff to happen so fast or happen overnight, because we haven't even learned the lessons of the foundation stuff, because if you grow too fast, it's always going to be problematic. Just not even just with your system stuff, sometimes with you, right? Because you don't know how to handle all what you're doing, because you just don't know what you don't know. Because I know the Charise, the you right now, is very different than the you 10 years from 10 years ago.
Yes, very 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 different.
And your business is different too.
Yes.
Because I know a lot of times we'll look at these social media people and we're like, oh my gosh, they're so good, or they have this much, or they 6-7 figure this, but we don't realize that they've been doing this for like 15 years, or more. It's very rare you have somebody in their first 2 or 3 years. It can happen, obviously, but most of the people that are really out there and they're sustainable, and you see them, they're not up and out, and then they've been doing this for a very long time. Now, you might have just found out about them, but they've been out here just doing what they're supposed to do, day in, year in and year out. All right. So no, that's
also,
awesome.
I believe too, doing your research, like researching these different companies, because sometimes the people you think that's really on top, sometimes they really not.
They're not.
And if after you do your research, you find out like, oh man, I thought they
were.
Yes. Maybe something totally different, so.
Right. What the people say, a cap is all cap.
Yes. So do your research, find out who people are. People are, there are some genuine people out here that really want to help people. And there's some people, unfortunately, that really don't.
That's true.
So you have to find the difference, find out, one thing I do know is that, you find out what people's heart, where their heart is. If their heart is in helping people, it's going to show in everything that they do, regardless of if it's a boutique or if it's a coaching business or whatever it is. If their heart is to really give you something that's going to last, or give you something from their heart, you'll know.
Yeah, that's true. And then the other part of that is, we're still kingdom entrepreneurs, kingdom business people, kingdom ministry leaders, and things like that. So we need to operate in discernment.
Yep.
Right. If something ain't clicking, like something ain't right about them, it's not right.
Yes.
Listen to your discernment, and that goes, we can't just put God in a box in church. We got to listen as we do business, partnerships, deals, collaborations. I have stories just, just even on the collaboration side, where it's like something ain't all the way cooking. Something ain't, something in the milk ain't right.
Yes.
And eventually you find out like, oh, that's what I was seeing with that person. And it kind of comes out. So we got to be very discerning and strategic in how we do things. Because the other side of that is talking about collaborations anyway, that we're aligning ourselves with that person's brand. And if their brand is trash, it will work not in the best way, that they might think that we're in our brand and what we doing is not good because the other person we got caught up with, isn't good. So, but I thank God for the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
All day. And that actually leads into the next question about what does it mean to be a kingdom entrepreneur? And I make a difference between Christian business owner, Christian, things, but being a kingdom person doing business or minister, leading ministries.
Well, I believe that a kingdom entrepreneur is one who consults God about the business, and know that God is the CEO of the business. So one of the things, in my first conference, that was God, because I was like, I don't know how anyone can do a conference within 4 months unless God tells you to. So God told me, like, I had 4 months to do my first conference, and it was a success, but it's only because God backed it. So you have to just listen to God. If this is a kingdom entrepreneur, you're listening to God. You're talking to God about the daily things. You're talking to him about the finances. You're talking to him about the designs. You're talking to him about everything that you want to do, because you don't want to do something outside of it. And I want people to understand that sometimes you can get ahead of God. And if you find yourself in that position, only thing you do is go back and say, you know what, Daddy, I'm sorry. I kind of left you out of this, and I could tell it's going left. So for me to bring it back, let me get my mind right and come back and say, okay, this belongs to you, and I'm operating this business with you in mind. So what do you want me to do? And I believe that when you do that, even in your customer service, even in your way your product looks, the way you're packaging, your down to your thank you card, it will all be blessed.
No, that's good. And I don't think people really think that all the way through, that being a kingdom leader, I'll just say leader because it could be ministry or business, that it's seen all the way throughout your whole brand, not just like the surface stuff, like with your, I don't know, your fishes, your loaves, and your doves on your card and your name. It's in how you actually treat people.
Yes.
How you actually minister to people through your using your platform of your business, because it's literally giving you an open door to minister to people in whatever way. And it might not be, I'm asking you, are you saved? Do you know Jesus? It might be, I'm just operating in such a level of excellence that people are just like, I don't know. It's just, I just like this person. So I'm always going to get stuff from them because they're just, the favor of God is just on you and on your business. So people can't help but to be attracted to what you're doing. And I don't think people have an understanding of kingdom and kingdom entrepreneurship, kingdom ministry, where it's literally that God blows on it and blesses you, and to the point that your people, the people that are assigned to you, find you and they partner with you.
I recently I did some and I had to physically do these. I had to do some business shirts for a young lady. She asked me to do some business shirts for her, so I did. And she said, when I got my box, oh my God, I felt like I was opening up a Christmas gift. She was like, she was so happy about it. She was like, it was so personalized, and so
you are like the packaging queen, y'all. If you want to learn something how to package and how to package some stuff, Charise is the person. That might be another stream, just giving people templates on how to package their stuff. Because y'all, I'm telling you, she has the best packaging.
And that's what she said. She was like, oh my God. And I was like, well, and it made me feel good. But it also, because one thing about God is he always fulfills two things at one time. I always say this: he always gives something to you, but then he gives something to somebody else too. So he does a 2-for-1, and I always say that.
That's good.
So he did a 2-for-1. He made me feel good because she got something that she liked, and it made my heart feel good. And then she felt good about her, her t-shirts, and it wasn't anything, amazing or anything like, different than,
Right.
Any other company could have gave her. But at the same time, it's all about your purpose and your passion. What are you passionate about? It's going to come out in your products.
Right. And, your non-kingdom people, they might not even care. They're like, I'm going to do the bare minimum because that's what people are expecting, and people take it and it's fine. Right.
Yeah.
But they notice when there's a difference.
Yes.
They notice it because also when you were talking, I was thinking about how it's almost like they're getting a gift, and giving of gifts is a love language for people. So it can be like you're showing and demonstrating love to that person just by how you're giving them, of course, what they paid for in order. So not necessarily a gift, but you're giving it to them in that way. So no, that's really, really good. So we don't want to hold you guys forever. So we just got a couple more questions that I sent to Charise. So we were talking about kingdom business, but as a business owner, there's always obstacles that come up. Can you help us or just let us know some of the biggest obstacles you had to overcome? And they can be real technical, like things with your business, or they can just be things on the inside. Like I know you talked about mindset.
I will say a little bit of both. So I will the one of the things is the imposter syndrome.
And can you explain what that is? I know depending on when you look at this, you might already know because her session talks about it, and my session talks about it a little bit too. Probably everybody's session will hit on it a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Well, imposter syndrome is like kind of like a failure of succeeding or a failure of doing what is necessary. So God gives you a gift, right? And he tells you, okay, I want you to do this. And you keep talking yourself out of it. Every chance you get, it's always something coming up. That's imposter syndrome because you're not allowing yourself to do the thing that you know you're able to do. You keep talking around in circles. So that's one of the things that I would do a lot is I would have imposter syndrome and I just wouldn't move. I would just stay stagnant.
And so it paralyzes you.
Yes, paralyzing. And I do believe that I would be way further along if I would have moved when God told me to move the first time.
Wow.
Just to be honest, if I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be honest. If I would have moved when he said move the first time, I would have been further along. But also God is such a good God that he makes it to where you don't lose time. So even though it seems like I've lost time, I've gained so much knowledge that it's like I'm going to get all that time right back because now I know better, right? Another struggle was people pleasing, and not just in business, but in just in business and in life, people pleasing. One thing I will say, and I hate to say it that way, but some family members can be leeches.
Wow.
And meaning that they want you to give them stuff for free. And look, I had to pay for this. So I'm not, I want you to enjoy this with me, but can you put a little bit of payment on what you want me to give you? And sometimes it's just that being able to say no. People pleasing sometimes will stop you from saying no to people about different things that you know that you should say no about, right? So people pleasing your business will make you go bankrupt.
Because if you're not getting paid, because you still, actually you're paying people to get your product if you're not getting paid. You got an expensive hobby.
Giving product away was another thing, just giving product away because I'm a nice person. You want something, giving product away. And there's a difference between giving product, sowing a seed into someone's life, and just giving product away. There's two different things. I've given away different things to different people for different reasons. But it's a difference between if God tell you to sow a seed and you sow that seed versus you just giving stuff away to people and don't have no reason.
Right. Yeah, you got to have, if you are going to do, because, we even talk about doing freebies and stuff like that, always have a strategy behind it. Whatever it is, like it's very intentional. You're just not doing it to be doing it or because somebody is begging or they pulling on your compassion and all that.
And and I would say the last thing would be saving your money. Saving your money so that you can pay for advertising, you can pay for the things, because a lot of people don't realize that companies spend millions of dollars on advertising.
Yeah.
They pay millions of dollars for you to see them pop up on your screen every day. You notice if you look at something, it'll pop up later on another. You'll be on a whole nother website and it'll pop up. They are paying millions of dollars for this. So if you don't have at least some money to invest in advertising, you're not going to make it.
Right. You can start small with that. Because I know we talk about it in KBLN, the mastery group, starting with $5 and $10 and $20, $25, just being
Ease your way up.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course, that's easier said than done.
Of course. It is.
Yeah, we all got to learn that muscle, because you don't necessarily see the benefit of it right away sometimes. So, but no, those are all major things. So hopefully you guys are listening, you're writing those things down or taking heed, because everything that Charise said is something that probably every business owner in one way or the other, one shape or one form, will deal with some aspect of that.
Yes.
Depending on the type of business that you have, when you're starting, and it all kind of goes back. A lot of what you said goes back to knowing who you are and knowing your worth, and being able to not be afraid to charge, to to do what you need to do as an actual business person.
Yes.
Yeah, ministry leader. And I guess we can also I say business person and ministry leader because a lot of times people that are in business, especially if they're kingdom, they generally have some form of actual ministry that they're doing as well.
Yes.
So but it works that way too. But with the ministry leaders, you guys just have to be intentional about what you're doing and what you're giving and how you're giving. If it's not the plan that God told you to do and what he told you to give, I'd not do it. So but as we move on and close up, the last question is basically about, Charise, what kind of advice would you give somebody that's a kingdom ministry leader, kingdom business person, entrepreneur, and it can be, well, I'll just let you take that question, because I don't want to say somebody just starting in somebody's season. You could just take that question any way you feel fit.
And I'm glad you said that, because a seasoned person doesn't necessarily have all the answers either, just because they're seasoned, because just because of that, their business may not be where they want it to be at. So with that being said, the first thing I would say is don't quit. That's the major thing, because business, it can get a little messy sometimes. Some days you don't know if you're going to make $1 or not. You're not sure how that's going to work. So you have to always have a mind frame that I'm not going to quit. That's the first thing. The second thing is believe what God tells you. If he tells you that he has your back, believe that he has your back. Stop second guessing. Stop, putting other things before what he told you to do. Because a lot of times we put the God thing on the background and we put it on the back burner, and we're trying to do the things that we want to do. Do the God thing. So number one would be stop quitting, just keep moving. And number two is do the God thing. Do what he has told you to do and move in that. And three would be to pursue this with every fire and passion in your soul.
That's good. That's really good. All of those are needed, like you said, no matter where you're at in business or in ministry, because once it gets challenging, you're going to want to quit. I mean, once it gets to be like it's not fun anymore, once your kids or spouses or family members and all these things are having going on, once, maybe things pertaining to your health, things, let's just like home life. Once life happens, it's like your business doesn't stop. It's still,
and business too going. Is like, I think sometimes when you look at businesses in the eyesight of marriage, right? I am married to what God has told me to do. So no matter what it looks like, the ups and downs, the things that we go through, like me and my husband, we said we're not getting divorced. That's what we said. Like we're gonna take that off the table, right? So when we go through stuff, you can't go back and renege and say, you know what?
Right.
You gotta, what you said, you gotta roll with those punches. So in business, you have to do the same thing. You just gotta roll with it. It's gonna be some ups, it's gonna be some downs, it's gonna be some I don't knows. But if you follow God, you will get there every time. At the end, you'll be looking back like, man, he sure shocked me.
No, that's so true. And I think the only thing I would add to that is follow God, like you said, but also have a community around you that you can talk to. I remember when I started off in business years ago, it was some of the hardest stuff I ever did. And I never had anybody that knew literally could relate, especially somebody that was a Christian. Right. And I think that added to it being hard. Because I know even with us, with the KBLN in our mastery group, sometimes when we meet and do our meetups and things, we're just like venting almost. Right? And sometimes you just need that sounding board and you're venting, you're talking to people that, you know, that kind of understand, because we're not saying like, no, you crazy or this and that. We like, no, girl.
Yeah, we get it.
Been there, done that. Let me help you or give you, you know.
Non-judgmental, yes.
Right. But people don't realize how much of gold that is, especially people that can pray you through.
Yes,
very
much so.
Maybe you had a bad launch or a bad whatever that, and you know, or a conference that didn't go the way you wanted it to go, or an event that didn't go the way you wanted it to go. That can be rough on, you know, just your spirit, just like, man,
your mindset. Yes, it can be.
So you need that community, those people to kind of get you off the ledge. Because I know a few people we've talked off the ledge at times.
Yes,
like, girl, keep going, just pivot, you know, do whatever, you know, do this, do that. So you guys, just remember that it takes all of that and then some. I mean, we're not out here as islands trying to get the purposes and the plans and the will of God done. You know, he put people around us that are there to hold our hands up, to listen, and all these different things, in addition to everything you just said. So you guys, we are at the end of our time. So Charise, before we go, do you have any parting words or anything you want those listening to remember before we go?
Just remember, this is a saying that I always say: confidence is your superpower. So no matter where you go, remember that if you're confident to walk through the door, and we're talking about creating your own door, be confident enough to walk through the door.
That's good.
So you can't walk through a door that you're not willing to create.
Girl, y'all, those are some good nuggets. So thank you, Charise, so very much for talking to us in this little short period of time. So you all make sure you check out her websites, her links, her membership group, just all the things that she has going on, connecting with her just on her socials, which you'll see somewhere around here. I'll probably put it either in the group or in the show notes or somewhere. You'll be able to connect to her with her, no matter when you're looking at this. If you're listening to this or looking at this 5 years from now, she's still going to be doing what she's doing, right?
Yes.
So, but thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you guys for just being who you are and participating with us. So we will see you next time, and be sure to look out for some of our other guest speakers or interviews, the podcast, all of that. So love you guys, and we'll see you real soon. Bye.